She thought no one would ever hear her story. But now you have. Subscribe to give voice to others like her. I never thought I'd be sharing this story, but I need to tell someone before the guilt consumes what's left of my heart. My name is David, and I'm 32 years old. 3 months ago, I made the worst mistake of my life, and now I'm living with consequences I never saw coming. It started on what should have been the happiest day of my life. I had just gotten promoted to senior partner at the law firm where I'd been grinding for 8 years. The salary jump was massive, more money than my family had ever dreamed of. I was finally going to be someone important, someone who mattered in this world. But what happened that evening would shatter everything. I thought I knew about what really matters. My mother called me that Tuesday, her voice trembling with excitement she was trying so hard to contain. David, sweetheart, I have something special for you. Can you come by the house tonight? I should have heard the hope in her voice, but I was too busy reviewing contracts, too consumed with my new success to pay attention to the woman who had sacrificed everything for me. I almost didn't go. Almost told her I was too busy, too important now for family visits. But something in her tone made me drive the 40 minutes to the old neighborhood where I grew up. The house looked smaller than I remembered, more rundown. The paint was peeling, the front steps were cracking, and I felt embarrassed that this was where I came from. My BMO looked so out of place in that driveway, like a diamond in a pile of broken glass. Mom opened the door before I could knock, her face lighting up in that way that only mothers can manage. She was wearing her best dress, the blue one she saved for church and special occasions. Her hands were shaking slightly as she led me to the living room, and I noticed she had cleaned everything until it sparkled. I'm so proud of you, David, she whispered, tears already forming in her eyes. My son, the successful lawyer. Your father would have been so proud too. But what she did next broke something inside me that I didn't even know existed. She disappeared into her bedroom and came back holding a small, wrapped box. The wrapping paper was old, creased from being stored for who knows how long. Her arthritic fingers had clearly struggled with the tape, and the bow was crook, handmade from a ribbon that had seen better days. I've been saving this for when. You really made it, she said, her voice cracking with emotion. It was your grandmother's, and her mother's before that. It's been in our family for 4 generations, waiting for the right moment. I took the box, and immediately I could tell it was light and expensive. The wrapping felt cheap under my fingers, and I was already disappointed before I even opened it. This was supposed to be my celebration, my moment of triumph, and she was giving me some old family trinket. Inside was a simple silver watch. Not expensive silver, the kind that would turn your wrist green if you wore it too long. The face was yellowed with age, the leather band cracked and worn. There were scratches all over the surface, and the second hand moved in jerky, uncertain movements. It's beautiful, Mom, I lied, already planning to shove it in a drawer and forget about it. But she wasn't finished. Your great-great-grandmother carried this through Ellis Island, she continued, her eyes shining with tears of joy. She sold everything she had to come to America, but she kept this watch. It was the only thing of value she owned, and she passed it down because she believed that someday one of her descendants would make something of themselves. I should have been moved. I should have understood the weight of what she was giving me. Instead, all I could think about was how embarrassing this moment was, how this cheap old watch didn't match my new life at all. But the words that came out of my mouth next would haunt me forever. Mom, I appreciate the thought, but I can't wear this. I'm a senior partner now. I have clients to impress, important meetings. This watch, it doesn't really fit my image anymore. The light in her eyes died instantly. I watched it happen, like someone had just turned off a switch in her soul. Her smile faltered, then crumbled completely, and the silence that followed was deafening. I understand, she whispered, but her voice was hollow now, empty of all the joy that had been there moments before. Of course. You're successful. Now you need better things. She tried to take the watch back, but her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold it. I set it on the coffee table between us like it was contaminated, and in that moment, I saw my mother truly see me for who I had become, not her proud son, not the boy she had raised with love and sacrifice, but a stranger who cared more about appearances than the woman who had given him everything. Left that night feeling justified in my decision. I told myself I was being practical, realistic about my new position in life. I had worked too hard to let sentiment hold me back now, but what I discovered 3 days later would bring me to my knees in ways I never imagined possible. I was at work, buried in paperwork, when my phone rang. It was Mrs. Henderson from Next. Door to my mother's house. Her voice was shaking, barely coherent through her tears. David, you need to come to the hospital right now. It's your mother. She collapsed this morning. The doctors. They're saying she might not make it through the night. The world stopped spinning. Everything I thought was important, the promotion, the money, the image I was so desperate to protect, turned to dust in an instant. I left the office immediately, not caring about the clients I was supposed to meet, not caring about anything except getting to my mother. When I arrived at the hospital, Mrs. Henderson was waiting for me in the corridor. Her face was red from crying, and she could barely look me in the eye. David, she said softly, there's something you need to know. After you left Tuesday night, your mother called me over. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. My stomach dropped. I knew somehow that what she was about to tell me would destroy me. She told me about the watch, about how you rejected it. But David, there's something she never got the chance to tell you that night. Mrs. Henderson took a deep breath, and I could see the pain in her eyes as she prepared to deliver words that would change everything. Your mother has been working 3 jobs for the past 2 years, cleaning offices at night, taking in sewing. During the day, doing whatever she could to save money. Not for herself, she barely has enough to eat most days. She was saving every penny she could because she wanted to buy you something worthy of your success. The corridor seemed to tilt around me. I had to grab the wall to keep from falling. She saved for 8 months to buy you a Rolex. David, 8 months of 16-hour days, eating nothing but rice and beans, wearing the same 3 dresses over and over. She had almost enough money saved up, but Mrs. Henderson wasn't finished destroying me. But then her car broke down 3 weeks ago. The repair bill ate up everything she had saved. She was devastated, crying for hours because she thought she had failed you. She thought you deserved better than some old family watch. But it was all she had left to give. I couldn't breathe. The walls were closing in around me, and I felt like I was drowning in the weight of my own cruelty. She stayed up all night polishing that watch. Mrs. Henderson continued, her voice breaking. She practiced what she was going to say, how she was going to explain the history, make it sound special enough for her successful son. She was so excited, David. So proud of you. That's when I lost it completely. Right there in the hospital corridor, I broke down like a child. The sobs came from somewhere deep inside me, from a place I didn't even know existed. All those nights she had worked late while I was in law school, all the sacrifices she had made, all the love she had poured into raising me, and I had thrown it back in her face because of my own selfish pride. I stumbled into her hospital room, and what I saw there nearly brought me to my knees. She looked so small in that hospital bed, so fragile and pale. Machines were beeping around her, tubes and wires everywhere, and I realized that I might lose her before I could ever make this right, but there on the bedside table was the watch. She had brought it with her to the hospital, The nurse noticed me staring at it. "She's been holding that watch since she got here," she said softly. "She keeps whispering about her son, about how proud she is of him. Even unconscious, she won't let go of it." That was my breaking point. I fell to my knees beside her bed, took her frail hand in mine, and begged for forgiveness like I had never begged for anything in my life. "Mom, I'm so sorry," I whispered through my tears. "I'm so, so sorry. Please don't leave me." "Please give me a chance to make this right." For 3 days, I didn't leave that hospital room. I held her hand, told her stories about my childhood, about all the ways she had made me who I was supposed to be, not who I had become. I told her about every sacrifice I remembered her making, every time she had gone without so I could have something I needed. On the 4th day, she opened her eyes. When she saw me there, her first instinct was to apologize. Can you believe that? She wanted to apologize to me. "David, I'm sorry about the watch," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I know it wasn't good enough for you. I should have saved more money, should have gotten you something better." I couldn't stop crying as I picked up that watch from the bedside table. With shaking hands, I fastened it around my wrist, where it belonged, where it should have been from the moment she gave it to me. "Mom, this is the most beautiful watch I've ever seen," I told her, and for the first time in days, I wasn't lying about anything. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. The smile that spread across her face was worth more than every promotion, every dollar, every status symbol I had ever chased. In that moment, I understood what real success looked like, and it had nothing to do with money or titles or impressing people who didn't really know me. It had everything to do with the woman who had loved me unconditionally, even when I didn't deserve it. My mother recovered, thank God, but our relationship was forever changed. Not damaged, transformed. I learned to see her not as an embarrassment from my past, but as the foundation of everything good I could ever hope to become. I still wear that watch every day, not because it's valuable in the way the world measures value, but because it carries the weight of 4 generations of love, sacrifice, and hope. Every time I look at it, I remember the night I almost lost the most important person in my life because I was too blind to see what really mattered. The Rolex I eventually bought myself sits in a drawer, unworn and unimportant. But this watch, this beautiful, imperfect, precious family heirloom, has become the most treasured possession I own. Sometimes the most valuable gifts come wrapped in the humblest packaging, given by hands that have worked themselves raw just to show us love. And sometimes, if we're very lucky, we get a chance to recognize their true worth before it's too late. I'm one of the lucky ones. My mother gave me a second chance to be the son she deserved, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure I never forget that lesson again.